Hello, I'm Christina DiPaola, the gallery assistant here at the Aurora Cultural Center. I'd like to welcome you to another video in our ongoing Art Bytes series. This online series is presented as an accompaniment to our current exhibition as a way to give viewers an opportunity to deepen their understanding about the art and the artists we exhibit. Our current exhibition is Flowers in the Park, which runs until Saturday, July 24th, and is available to view on our website, aurorculturalcenter.ca. Flowers in the Park is a solo exhibition of Toronto-based contemporary mixed media artist Sangmin Lee. Curated by Claire Bolton, this exhibition features both Lee's hanging wall work and his Towers in the Park art installation. Our gallery team first discovered Lee's artwork in 2019 and were blown away by his Flowers in the Park wood panel series. Lee's interdisciplinary art practice continues to evolve and expand, and we are excited to display some of his newest work. Sangmin Lee's artwork seeks to find beauty in the ordinary and romanticizes the familiar. In Lee's installation, he presents common cultural images and objects which he reimagines in new ways. As the son of Korean immigrants, Lee was raised in the densest high-rise community in Canada, St. Jamestown, Toronto. As one of the most ethnically rich neighborhoods in North America, Lee takes inspiration from this world within a block in creating his artwork. His installations describe nonlinear stories about integration, displacement, and cultural survival. Sangmin Lee has a BFA from the Ontario College of Art and Design and has worked as an assistant in their sculptural courses after his graduation. He is a member of the Red Hat Gallery and has been the recipient of multiple grants and awards. Lee has exhibited his work all over Toronto and across Southern Ontario. He has also had his work shown in Montreal, Japan, South Korea, and the United States. In 2019, Lee completed an artist residency at the Vermont Studio Center, and he is currently doing an artist residency in Ecuador, where he is joining us from today. Please welcome Sangmin Lee. So hi, thank you for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to getting to talk to you.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, for sure. Excited.
Absolutely. So as an artist who works in both two-dimensional and three-dimensional space, what informs your decisions to express ideas as sculptural installations versus working more two-dimensionally, for example, the wooden panels in the exhibition?
I guess, because like all together, it's kind of trying to construct a narrative. So,
For
you know,
sure.
where the paintings and the wall works are more like the representational side of things, like it is the storybook, the comic book, the sculptures act more like you're right in the middle of the story. You see the characters and the like it's like being right on set, I guess. And then together they kind of construct not necessarily reality, but some approximation that I'm trying to get at. I mean, I like to work like in these nonlinear narratives. So, you know, if you look at it as a circle, I want kind of blips and certain kind of abstract objects within that space. And then I'm more interested in the in-between space of how I or how a viewer kind of puts those things together. And so paintings and sculptures kind of act like these markers that occupy those spaces to allow you to kind of piece together that non-linear story.
So I guess that kind of leads me right into the next question that I have, which is, speaking of this exhibition, is there any parts of it that you'd want to highlight or something specific you wanted to share about it?
I usually start at the center installation. That usually is like the impetus to most of my work. You know, it's very large and very latent, like the sculptural forms, but you know, like within it I like these little subtle pieces. I made this rose-like shape with balloon and wire, and that balloon was from like a way previous installation where I used that balloon and like pink silicone and then work with the remnants. So I'm always kind of constructing these stories as I go through my process, and I suppose all those subtleties are kind of expressed in like the nooks and corners of these large pillow-like towers.
Yeah, so there is like something that's overarching, but then you do also have those more intimate or smaller moments or pieces that you're looking at.
Yeah, for sure. And I think everything else kind of happens after that. You know, you can, I think an artist kind of like speaks their own point of view, and they like finally hone that, and people relate, because how can one individual human being within a group not relate if you kind of just like share your own story? And yeah, for sure.
So where do you find your inspiration for planning and making your artwork?
You know, like going through school, I mean, in my mind, I guess you kind of like copy individual artists and you kind of put it in your back pocket. Like I was looking at Rachel White-Reed. I looked at some European artists. Like for me, I want to kind of take those, like, you know, whether it's like minimalist methodologies and like abstract expressionist methodologies, like painterly things, and kind of like blend them and then kind of put my own stories into it, opposed to just showing like a frame. You show a house. I mean, that's kind of what I do literally. I don't want to just show like the bare bones of a house. I want to show like the lived in house, and that kind of
That
adds
kind
the
of distincts
emotion.
you from White Reed a little bit there, then, I guess.
Yeah, I think for her though, like, she has like, I think I read in one article that said that she's like minimalism with a soul. And I guess I like to think like, I'm like, yeah, like minimalism with a heart.
You work with drywall compound in a lot of the artworks. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering, what do you enjoy about using this more traditionally industrial material? And
Yeah, well, I think like, drywall compound, concrete, floor tiles, and sure, these kind of materials are very of the kind of the modern home. And the modern home is like, for me, is like, it's very bare bones. It almost tries to like push away any cultural referencing. I haven't traveled a lot, but the more I travel, the more I see that like everything is made of like drywall compound and concrete and like the same kinds of terms of negotiation that we have to go through to like live in a space. So I really like that part of it. Like they're like these very domestic, but also like global materials that I think a lot of people can relate to, but then also relate to the battle between like this modernization of like creating sameness and globalizedness to like this resistance, which is adornment, which is like engraving patterns and the smell of food and like spices, or like that's the lived in home. That's like the fight against non-culture, like, or like the removal of culture for this global like homogenous identity that we seem to be kind of like constantly moving towards. That struggle, like I want to display that struggle in a certain way, and I think all of us do, proactively, look for new music or like this furniture and this, just to kind of create that culture within this box. So yeah, whether it turns out for better or for worse, you can have new money and then just spend it on yachts and mansions that you have a dissociation with, but we always try.
to stay on the topic of materiality, would you be able to walk us through the process of making one of the Flowers in the Park panels?
Total. So I did a lot of mock-ups because I wanted them to all kind of connect and then also be separate pieces of their own. So yeah, so I like planned all the geometric compositions out to get into it, sketching and then Photoshop, and then take my rose pattern and overlay and kind of feel if that looks right. I made the frames myself, so that took a little bit of time, and put the drywall compound just like anyone else does with the drywall palette. I want to kind of use the same techniques that any person would when they're like painting their house and they have to like fill a hole and paint it. Just start engraving. I have like a nice laser cut template which I can just like overlay with pencil to like a guider to follow it, and then I engrave it with a router to make all the engraved roses, and then I put the wood filler down. It's actually kind of beautiful because after you put the wood filler, you can even see like from under certain markings of the roses that overlay to the wood filler. So, yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
That's really awesome. I think one of the things that really is successful about that piece is not only how they all work together. The part that sticks out to me is the layering in it, because you have the engraved part, but then you also have the textured, which also would then stick out, and the engraving that comes in, and it's very textured, which is just so fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah. No, I definitely want to try at least to like provoke like an inside out. You can kind of see it from far away and be like, oh my god, there's so much happening, and then go inside and then see the simplicities and the nuances.
So going from Flowers in the Park, I'm wondering if you are willing to speak a little bit about the rose motif that's found in some of the other engraved wall works, and then of course on the rice bags.
I guess the way I put it is like kind of what we're speaking about in terms of these domestic materials like drywall compound, right? So like I wanted to have like almost like a boring thing and then like apply this symbol of some kind of culture. It's like this like Oriental rose, Pan Asian rose, and certain people be like, oh, I've eaten that bag of rice, and they have certain simple like commercial associations to it. Yeah, and even just like your expectation, like this is like an Oriental rose. I don't know, like you just have that feeling, right? And then I want to take that and just pattern it and use it so much in repetition till it almost like meant nothing. It just like was this aesthetic motif. The meaning was gone and the aesthetic was apparent. And like, what does that mean? Like that disconnect when you repeat something and then you lose the point of it. And like, what does that look like? And to be honest, at this point, I think I've exhausted it enough where I'm like, maybe I'll stop this and go to the next thing I'd want to repeat.
I think it is a shared experience. Yeah, and that sense of repetition absolutely comes across, I think, through this exhibition. So are you working on anything right now? And are there any like current projects you wanted to speak about?
Most of my works kind of bleed into each other. I don't really it's hard to say like where it begins and ends. I suppose like I can start a new motif, but then I usually end up taking that motif and like integrating it into my installations anyways. But specifically, I am looking at making these red crown cranes. So I've been looking at this old Korean history book, like way back in the Toronto Reference Library, and see this beautiful 12-panel painting, and then there was these red crown cranes and these peaches, like on branches with like leaves, and I really felt that. And I even put like a tester piece into the installation. It was like on a bottle. It was like a wire spinning up and then having these leaves come out. And then I had like one peach on like the other end of the corner.
It's one of my
just,
favorite parts of the installation is the peach.
Thank you. Yeah, and that was like made with insulation foam and drywall compound and just watercolor paint. So like I want to work a little more intimately and kind of like translate that old history into this new context, and like what is that disconnect? What is the space between that? And then what does it mean to be here now in this like very non-culture material, like this very modern material, industrial material? And so I just want to further that with making these red crown cranes that kind of look like pink flamingos, like the plastic pink flamingos.
Yeah.
Very Americana, and have the peach branches, like come out and maybe float or like go through structures and kind of hang with the peaches on them, or maybe fall in and kind of recreate that painting into my sculpture installation practice, and then add my older works into that and kind of just seamlessly integrate it. So somewhere there is the new work.
That's so exciting. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And where can people go to see more of your work?
I guess you can go to my website, sangminl.com, and my Instagram, which is the same thing, at sangminl.
And I absolutely would encourage that people check out your website, because I think some of the photography of the installations that you've done in the past are a must-see. So I think that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for speaking with us again. And the exhibition continues until basically until August.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. It was really fun chatting, and it was great.